Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. I hope you guys are having a good day so far. So in this video today, I'm going to be teaching you how to build this blob generator using only JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and as well as Bootstrap, which is not very complicated. So what we have here is a generator with 4 inputs, actually 5 if we count this one, but 4 for the border radius values. And this input right here is where we can type in the color of our blob. So let's say I wanted a red blob, I can just type in red and then hit enter. It's going to change the color of the blob to red. And these 4 inputs are the border radius values. So let's say I wanted a circle. I would just have to type in 50 since the circle in CSS has a border radius of 50% on all sides, meaning top, right, left, and bottom. So I can just, just like that. Paste it like that. And now if we hit generate, it's going to generate a circle for us, as well as the CSS line down here. So we can just hit copy. And to prove to you that this actually works, I'm going to paste it into this blank Google Docs right here. And as you can see, they're completely the same. Let's try one more time, except with different values this time. I'm just going to enter in some random values, and let's change it to yellow this time. So I'll just hit yellow, and I'll change the width to maybe 64, the height to 59, and then hit generate. It's going to generate a random blob for us once again that is yellow. And we also have this down here again, so we can just hit copy, go back to Google Docs, paste it, or we can go into our CSS styles and just paste it in there, but this is just for demonstration purposes, so I don't think I have to do that. And that's really all there is to this project, so let's get right into the video. So now I'm back in Visual Studio Code, and the first thing I want to do is just get rid of all of this and start from scratch again. And the first thing I'll want to do now is go get my Bootstrap link, so I'll just copy all this right here, and then I can paste that link in here. Rel will be style sheet, the href will be the link itself, and after that we can go to the body and start typing our HTML. Starting with the container. So I'll create a div and give it an ID of container. Create another div, give it an ID of blob container. And then we can create another div within that. So we're basically nesting divs together so that it's like a multi-dimensional divs. And then ID equals blobs. Not blobs, just blobs, since it's going to be one blob, not multiple. And then we'll create an input, give it an ID of color. The placeholder will be something like enter a color, or maybe enter color or something like that. And I'll create another div and give it an ID of dimensions. So in this div we're going to create a label, which is what we're going to use to label our dimensions. So our first one will be width. Hit spacebar, and then I'll create an input. Type will be range, so that we get that range slider. The ID will just be width. Give it some more attribute like minimum and maximum value. And now if we go back, this is what we have so far. Alright, we can create a label for our height and do the same thing pretty much. So I'll just copy all of this and I'll just change the ID name to be height. And then we're going to get out of this dimension div and create a div, give an ID of radius inputs. So in here, as you may have probably guessed, we're going to create 4 inputs. And let's put them on different lines. So type will be number, and the ID for this one will be bottom left, this one will be bottom right, and this one will control top left, this will be top right, and this will have a placeholder of, you guessed it, top right. And you can just do that and continue down the list. And once you're done creating all of that, you can create a button, give it a class of btn primary generate button, and we'll just call the button generate. So now if we go back, we have a blue button with this really neat hover effect where when we hover over it, it darkens a little bit. Normally we would require CSS to do that, but since Bootstrap is doing the job for us, we don't have to. And then we can create another input, give an ID of copy text. Placeholder will be border radius, and let's also put a colon So colon, and let's create another button, give it a class of btn danger. This will turn the button red, and this will be our copy button, so that's what I'm going to give it an ID of. Then we'll just call it copy text. That's going to be its label. There we go, we have the copy text button. Alright, now we're done with all of that, so we can get started styling up our generators. So let's go create two style tags right here. And the first thing we'll want to do is style the body. So I'll just type body and give it a background color of hashtag 5475F3, which is going to be this light bluish purple. And then container will have a width of 900 pixels, height will be 480 pixels, background will be white, border radius, so we're going to round the corners of the container off a little bit so it's no longer 90 degrees, by 15 pixels. So now if we go back and take a look at it, you'll notice that it's rounded off at the edges. And we can do display flex, justify content center, align item center. So these three lines right here will control the positioning of the elements in the container and position it in the center, obviously, since that's what it says. And then we can do flex direction column. So it's going to stack everything on top of each other like this. And if we change this from column to row, it's going to stretch out like that instead. Or we can do row reverse, which is going to put everything in reverse. And there's also column reverse, which, as you may have guessed, it's going to do the opposite as well. It's going to stack everything in the inverse direction, basically. Anyways, let's bring it back and just do flex direction column, and we can do position absolute, top 50%, left 50%, transform, translate. So basically what we're doing here is we're going to move the entire container across our browser to a certain location, which I'll show you in a minute. And then we can do box shadow 0, 0, 20 pixels, RGB, Z index -5, so that it's always below all other elements on our web page. And now everything is in the center. Perfect. And now we can start styling our blob container. So I'll give it a width of 100%, height of 200 pixels, position relative, so that we can move it from its relative position. And then we'll do bottom 80 pixels, display flex. Once again, do justify content center, align items center, and then one last one, background E7 EAEE. Now if we go back, you'll notice that it's this light gray color. And then we can style our blob, give it a background color of hashtag 5475F3, and let's do border radius. You can enter in any values you want for this. There we go. So we have those 8 values, and we can do width 150 pixels, height 150 pixels, so that it's a circle. Well, not a circle, but so that the dimensions are equal. And there we have our blob. And let's also do box shadow RGBA 0, 0, 0, 0.15, 15 pixels, 20 pixels, and then 30 pixels, which will give it this nice blurry glowing effect thing in the background. Once we're done with that, we can start styling our radius inputs, which is that div right here that stores these 4 inputs. So we'll want to do position absolute, left 19%, top 56.5%, and then we can do transform translate -55%, -77%, Z index -4, display grid template columns, auto column gap, which is going to be 20 pixels, row gap is going to be 40 pixels. And now we can style our copy text element, which is, let me find it, it's this input right here. So we can do width 100%, color will be RGB 121, 121, 121, and the background will be E7EAEE. Height will be 70 pixels. Display flex once again. Justify content. Flex start. Now we can do align items, center, position relative, top 70 pixels, font size 1.2 rem, font family sans serif, padding left 40 pixels, and then font weight 700. And there we go, we have our inputs stretched out across our container. And now we want to select all the inputs that have the type of number, which are going to be these right here, since they all have a type of number. So what I want to do is I'm going to give them an outline of none so that the outline goes away. And I'll do cursor pointer, border 1 pixel solid black, and the background color will just be DCDDDF, which is going to be this grayish white color once again. And now we can do input type equals number, so basically the same thing as before, but this time we're going to add a focus property onto it. So when we focus onto our input, meaning when we click on it, we want the background color to change to this color right here, F1, F5, FA. There we go. And then border color will be 025 EAA. So let's try focusing onto it. Yep, it's working. So now we want to select our copy button. So I'll just type copy button, give it a Z index of a really big number, or maybe just 50, just to ensure that it's above all other elements on our web page. And then we can do position relative, left 200 pixels, font size 1 rem, cursor pointer, and then transition 0.3s, and then we'll do padding 4 pixels. And then after that we can style our input with the ID of copy text, which is going to be this input right here. So we're going to select that, and we're going to do outline none as well, cursor pointer, and then border none. Then after that we can do generate button position absolute, left 43%, top 76%, width 110 pixels, and then we can select our copy button once again, and we'll just do width 120 pixels, position absolute, left 83%, and then top 92%. So if we go back, you'll notice that it's at the bottom right corner of our container. And then we can style our radius inputs. So any inputs that are within the radius inputs div, and we'll want to give them a width of 120 pixel, text align center, color #333, border 2 pixels solid black, and there we go, we have our border. And then after that we can do input #color, so we're going to select the input with the ID of color, do position relative, top 50 pixels, right 292 pixels, width 261 pixels, background E7 EAEE, border 2 pixels solid black. Then we're going to select all of the inputs within the dimensions div, and we'll just do width 167.7 pixels, height 20.8 pixels, and then after that we can do dimensions input : dash webkit dash slide thumb, and the slide thumb is basically this thing right here that you pull with on the input. So let's go back to this and give it a few more styles. So WebKit appearance none, background will be the same color as this one, so I'm going to go steal that real quick, boom. Then we can do border radius 12 pixels, outline none as well, and then we can do dash webkit dash appearance none as well, appearance none. Then we can do width 30 pixels, and then height 30 pixels. Background hashtag 5475F3. Cursor pointer, and then border radius 50%. And I believe that is all we need for our CSS. So now let's move on to some JavaScript. So let me go down to the bottom of my editor and type script. And now we're going to get started with initializing a bunch of variables, starting with width slider. So var width slider equals document.getElement by ID width. We're also going to bring in the height slider, and then we can bring in our blob and color input, and then we also need our generate button. So I'll type generate button. Awesome. And then our last one will be the copy buttons. Okay, now we got the boring part out of the way, so we can start adding some event listeners to our variables that we brought in, starting with our width slider once again. So we'll give it a click event, and when we click on it, it's going to run this function right here. So we'll also create another variable called var width value equals width slider dot value, and we just want to do blob.style.width equals width value plus pixels. That's how we use CSS in JavaScript, by typing .style dot the property that we want, and then set it equal to whatever the property is. And now we can just do document.query selector and also bring in the width counter, so that it'll tell us how big our blob is, how wide it is, equals height value, not height value, equals width value plus pixels. So now if we go back and try changing the width, it changes, yes. So we'll just want to do the same for our height, except change wherever it says width to height. So let's go do that. This will be height, change this to height, and we'll just copy this right here and replace it with this. This will be height, this will be height, and let's change this as well. There we go. Now we have everything changed. So if we try changing the height, it's going to get shorter and taller, right? Yes. And then after that, we'll want to create a function, and I'll just call it display value. It'll take in a parameter of border radius, and we'll just do document.getElement by ID, and the ID is copy text dot value equals, and then we're going to use these tick marks, which you can find on your keyboard at the very top left corner. Most keyboards have it, but if you don't, then I'm sorry about that. There's nothing we can really do about it. But we'll just do border radius, colon, then the money sign. So this syntax right here allows us to use variables within quotes. Well, in this case, it's not quotes, but it's similar to quotes. It's tick marks, template literals. So we'll just type in border radius. We can type in variable names or parameter names into the syntax right here. So that's what makes it so efficient and convenient about ES6. And then after that, we can create a function called color function, and it'll take in a parameter of E, and we can check to see if the key code of that key is 13, meaning that we press the enter key. Because in JavaScript, there's this thing called the keyboard event, and each key on your keyboard has its own unique key code, and the enter key in this case has a key code of 13. So if that is the case, then we'll want to console log enter key pressed. So we want it to let us know that we hit the enter key. Let's do an alert instead, so that we don't have to open up our console. And now if we go click on this and then just type in a bunch of random stuff, hit enter, it's not alerting us. Let's try again. The reason why it's not working is because I didn't call the function. But anyways, you can trust me that the code works, because I've tried it before and it worked. So let's just do var color equals document.get element by id color dot value, and we'll just want to do blob.style.background. So we're going to set its background color to the color that the user passed in, and we can just give this, we can give the color input variable an event listener key up, so it's going to listen for when we click a key on our keyboard, and it's going to run the function color function right there. And let's also give our generate button, make sure the B is capitalized since this is camel case, and we'll just give it a click event, and when we click on it, it's going to run the function called radius, which we're about to create in a second. So let's create a function called radius, and inside of this function I'm going to do var top right. So basically I'm going to bring in all of the border radius values inputs from our HTML, which is going to be all of this right here. Okay, once we're done creating those 4 variables, we can create another variable called border radius, and we're going to use template literal strings once again. So these tick marks right here, and we'll just set the first value of it to be money sign, so the syntax that we used before, and then the name of the variable, top left. So in CSS, the border radius property starts from the top left corner and work its way around clockwise. So we're going to start with top left, and then top right, and then bottom right and bottom left. So that's how it works. And make sure we don't forget to type the %sign. And now we can do top right %sign, and then bottom right, and then the %sign. And then we'll have a forward slash, and we'll do bottom right, not bottom right, my bad. It's going to be 100 minus top left, and then a %sign, and then we'll have the money sign once again, and then we'll do 100 minus top right, %sign, 100 minus bottom left, %sign, and then 100 minus bottom right, %sign. Okay, that was very confusing, and I hope you guys didn't mess up too much on that, because I got very confused with that. And then we can do blob.style.border radius, and we're just going to set it to that variable name right there. And we can console log the border radius name just to see that it's actually working. So I'll do border radius, use that syntax once again, and then type border radius, and then we can do display value. So that's the name of the function that we created right here, and for its parameter we're going to pass in border radius. So basically what's happening here is that it's going to take this border radius variable right here and then pass it into this function as its parameter, and then this function will use this parameter to substitute with this right here. So it's going to output border radius and then whatever the percentage values are onto our console. So that's basically what this right here is doing. Hopefully that made sense to you, and then we can create a function called copy to clipboard. And before we go any further, let's see if our codes are actually working or not. So yes, our code is working. It's generating the values for us down here. Perfect. And now we can go back to our copy to clipboard function and create a variable called copy text equal document.get query selector. It's gonna select an input with the value with the ID of copy text. Then we'll do copy text.select. So it's going to select the input, and we'll also do copy text.set selection range 0 to 99,999 so that it can be used on mobile devices. Then do document.execute command, so exec command. And the command that we're looking for is the copy command. And we just want it to alert us that it copied the style for us. So we'll just say alert copied CSS style :space plus copy text dot value. And then we can give our copy button an event listener of click. And then we'll just type in the function name, copy to clipboard. And now let's see if our generator is working. So I'll just type in 50, 50, 50, 50, and then change it to red. Hit enter. Okay, it's turning red. And here comes the moment of truth. I'm going to hit the generate button. Yes, it works. Awesome. And now, copy text. Okay, it says it's copied. Let's go over here and paste it. And this is it. I guess it wraps it up for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, comment down below your concerns and feedbacks, and I'll reply back to you personally and even heart your comment. Other than that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.